Greetings, literacy fans. As promised, I'm going to talk about mini lessons and conferences, and this is in the context of writing workshop. As the name suggests, a mini lesson is a wee little lesson. It is short and it is quickly paced, and as I described before, it can be done with the whole class. Just to remind you that when we end a sentence, we have the stop sign, or it can be done in small groups. If you notice one or two students having trouble with an issue, or 4 or 5 or 7 or 8, just call them up to the front table. That is called very direct instruction. And that's called assessment, by the way. That's formative assessment. As you are noticing students writing, you record what things that you need to teach. That is good teacher research-based teaching. So what do you teach? I kind of alluded to it already, didn't I? You look at students writing and see what needs teaching. You can also use a scope and sequence to give you some ideas. Remember, scope and sequences should describe things to teach, describe skills to teach, but they should not prescribe. Don't think you need to teach a certain set of skills in a set order. Always adopt and adapt everything. All right, the writing conference. This is where students talk about their writing. Students talk about their writing. In a writing workshop, the students should do 80 to 90% of the talking. The teacher asks questions. Ooh, tell me about this. Oh, I like this. I'm wondering about that. It is not an editing session, and you need to tell people you're not there to correct errors, although you may do that sometimes. You may use it as a short little mini lesson on something. It is not an editing session. And you want to keep a schedule of students. Keep a list. And I found usually you can do about 2 to 4 writing conferences a day. It gets very hard after that. And here's the thing. If you do 3 conferences a day, you can have very explicit contact with your students about their writing every 2 to 3 weeks. You can engage with them directly. That's a great way to connect with them and see them as writers. Some questions that you might ask, and here's a list. I like this part. Tell me more. What do you mean by it? I wonder if, have you ever considered? And when you ask a question, you always pause. All right? What do you think of that? Silence. People naturally want to fill in the silence. 4 kinds of writing conferences. Start with this one, the teacher and the student. You have a sign-up list. Students come to you and you conference. This is during the writing workshop time. This is the part after the bubble of silence where people are up and moving around. Teacher and small group. You can sit in a small group and conference. All right, who wants to read their story? Boys and girls, what did you like about that? Interesting, tell me more. Small group. Each shares in small groups. You create structure by having a poster or something so students know how to respond. Maybe 3 or 4 ideas. This is the ultimate where students can conference with each other. And student. Boys and girls, sign up, or you can move to your conference buddies. You may come together and you may begin the conference today. This is powerful stuff where students learn to respond to each other's writing. You have to teach them how to respond. Again, you always teach the process. And here are some questions that I like to have on posters when students are learning to conference. And that kind of ends mini lessons and writing conferences, all part of writing workshop. The next one will look about writing prompts. How do you create effective writing prompts? Writing prompts that are not lame.